All right. Shalom, everybody. Shalom. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer. And it's in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect this message. Amen. Amen. Hello, everybody. It's coming on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Have our special session every last Sunday of each month. Coming on. Fully invested. Full power of the family behind us. Thank you to everybody who's coming in. We are thankful and grateful to everybody. We're thankful as always to the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. Thankful and grateful for everybody. Thankful and grateful once again to the Most High for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who's with us today. But if you're on TikTok, you can't see him, but because you can't have him on TikTok, or else they try to shut you down. But if you're on YouTube, you can see young Solomon. We're gonna try. He was needed some attention, so he's going to get some attention today. And really, I'll probably be able to provide it anyways, due to the fact that we're going to be talking about precious stones, and it is not really my area of expertise. Other than, well, I have some expertise in it, but it's definitely nowhere close to what my wife does. So we are having our special session to go longer, since a lot of people said, "Hey, you guys only did 30 minutes," and I know she was like, "Well, we only did 30 minutes," but we had class and stuff, so we had to kind of get through that. So since we couldn't really do it in the early riser sessions, we really couldn't make it happen. We decided to just go ahead and come on tonight and allow everybody to be able to come on with us. And so we're thankful and grateful to be on with you all tonight. And as always, we give honor to the Most High for my wife, the Honorable Maya. You can follow her on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at BloomNFlourish, not A-N-D, but the letter N, BloomNFlourish. And she's a healer, herbalist, chemist, biologist by degree. And she has tinctures, things to help heal the community, as well as does many other things, including being able to sit down and talk with people as she's able to through her business. If you'd like to get more information, that'll be all right.
Yes.
If you'd like to get more information, let us know. If you're on YouTube, or if you go to YouTube to find this video later on once it's uploaded, just go on there. We have her information in the description box right now. So we're thankful and grateful to you all. And once again, so this is kind of, sort of, well, not kind of, sort of. This is basically a continuation of what we spoke on when we talked about the precious stones, Revelation 21, when we did a little bonus session. And now we can actually have questions about the stones themselves. I will try my best to answer things as much as possible, and my wife, of course, will. And but pretty much for the most part, unless I'm asked or needed, or maybe have a question myself, I'm probably just going to be listening in. And so if you guys have Q&A questions, questions, comments, or concerns, prayerfully we'll be able to give you the best that we can. Thank you for being on. So you, Sister Deborah, and I am Dawn, Kendra, Ken. We see you on here. Sister Beverly and Minister Select Sonia, Minister Anais, Brother Morrell, Sister Kimberly, Minister Tamara, Marion, everybody. Thanks for being on. Dux, I believe, Booker, and everybody who's listening to this podcast or watching this later on YouTube at a later date. Thanks for being on and joining us. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it over to my wife, the Honorable Maya. Let's get it, I guess. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry. Solomon, did you want to say shalom to everybody?
Shalom.
They can't hear you saying
Shalom.
You want to be in this stuff so bad, then you get a chance to hear it.
Like you need it, sir. Like you're happy.
It's all right. You want to be in this, then there you go.
Anyhow.
Thanks for being
here. Shalom, everyone. Blessings. Shalom, Minister Tamara. So we're going to be talking about crystals, but I think we need to get a basic understanding. Just assuming that everyone doesn't have some base. Two more to go.
I'm sorry.
Assuming that we're not all on the same. We'll start off in the same place. Like Pastor always says, how can two walk together unless they start in the same place, right? So in terms of energy, everything is energy. Everything is energy vibrating a frequency. When we are in, elementary or high school physics, we learn we learned that everything is vibrating at a certain frequency. And the reason why we can see and feel things like this table or the chair that I'm sitting in is because it's vibrating at a frequency fast enough to where it becomes solid enough for me to sit in it. And obviously, we have to be vibrating at a similar frequency for us to exist in the same space. Um, we see things because we have the ability to see at certain frequencies, and at certain frequencies we just can't see or uh, perceive something. It can be there, we just can't perceive it because it's vibrating at a different frequency that we're capable of noticing or feeling or sensing through our what is it, 5 or 6 senses that we have. Well, 5 senses, and then I would say intuition is the 6th sense. So there are frequencies that we cannot feel through our own physical and human abilities. And just like, you know how a dog can smell and hear at a different level than we can, they're smelling that frequency, they're smelling that vibration, they're seeing that vibration, they're hearing a different vibration, a different frequency than we are capable of hearing. Just because we don't hear something far off, or just because we don't smell what the dog smells, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that we don't have the capacity of sensing it through our senses. So we are able to perceive our world through the vibrations that we can see and feel and hear, and we get our feeling of our physical world through those vibrations, through those senses. So crystals are objects that are created in the Earth's crust by heat and pressure of the minerals that are within the Earth. And, you know, ironically, they're the same minerals that we are made of. And crystals appear differently based on their mineral composition, where they're found, how they're made, the type of pressure and the type of heat that's applied to them will create a different crystal. For instance, our human body, we are made up of the elements. Got my little handy sheet here. Oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus. All of these are elements that we are made up of, and all of these are elements that we are made up of, as well as crystals are made up of the same elements. However, crystals are classified as crystals because they are highly structured in their composition. So when all those magnesium or nitrogen or oxygen atoms come together, they align in pretty much perfect alignment in a very consistent pattern. And these crystal matrices, basically. And because they're so stable and hold their composition, their vibration and frequency that they're giving off is very stable. It's very calming. It's very aligning because they're so much aligned and so structured. The crystals are very aligned and structured. So they give off a frequency that is very aligned and structured and consistent. They're a great tool for conducting energy, um, absorbing energy, um, storing memory, um, and we use them all the time, every day. In fact, we wouldn't be able to communicate with each other right now via the internet or these phones that we're on or the computers that we're on without the crystal chips that are within them. The internet, if you don't know, is a bunch of fiber optic cables under the sea. Those are made of crystals, of quartz. Our cars all have crystals in them. Our watches, credit cards, they have chips in them. What do you think they're made of? Crystal. Those chips are made of crystals. Tara said, do you all think crystals are part of witchcraft? No. So I think we don't realize, and I didn't realize until actually late last year that when we talked about the dark ages in school, we were talking we were talking about where we're living now. Like the fact that there's such a lack of knowledge of things that are pretty basic. Um, we can't say that we're practicing witchcraft if everything we use, if first of all, who made the crystals? The Most High made the crystals, right? um, People who are in charge, who have lots of resources, know that crystals are a natural resource that they can use to conduct energy, to conduct electricity, that can make our cars run, that can make the internet run. We didn't stop using our phones and call that witchcraft. If anything we use, um, it, it, witches drink water. Is water witchcraft? You know, it rains on witches. It is being rained on witchcraft. It, it becomes very tricky when people start yelling witchcraft or something is crazy just because they don't understand it. Um, I don't know a lot about witchcraft, but what I do know about witchcraft is that people who practice it are putting strong intention toward what it is that they're doing. It's a very conscious decision that someone's taking to practice witchcraft, to deal with spirits, to deal with things that they maybe should not be dealing with. Um, Witches use knives, but we don't say that someone cutting a slice of bread is doing witchcraft. So, like Sonia said, it's about intentions.
And also the term witch is going to be so we're talking about culturally, even when you talk about the dark ages, like the dark ages, basically you have to think of everything culturally. Everything we talk about is going to be culture first, right? So if you're talking about culture first and you're dealing with it, when somebody said something is witchcraft and they started things like the Spanish Inquisition, they started things like scarlet letters, they started things like locking people up and saying that if somebody was reading something they didn't like, or if a woman read, if a woman said something scientific in some cases, right? They called them a witch. Well, is that what we're talking about, or is that what they are talking about? There's a reason why they say, "Hey, don't use stones." Now, the same people, as my wife was saying, who will say, oh my greatness, we're seeing something that, by the way, the Bible speaks of. Mm-hmm. So the Bible talks about 12 precious stones, the 12th of which in Revelation will be amethyst. Now, people use amethyst. You see amethyst all the time. If you were to go to a museum, a lot of museums, you'd probably buy some amethyst and take it home with you, or you've probably seen it in stores. Would you say that would be witchcraft? Or no. Witchcraft, witch basically is, in our culture, it's talking about one who controls. And then what you craft together to control, therefore, would be witchcraft. And there are some cultures that would even go as far as to say witchcraft is if somebody is using medicine. Matter of fact, there's a reason why, even though I know Kemetic lore, this would mean something slightly different once we're talking about culture. So there's a reason why in medication you have two snakes around a pole going up. If you look at the history of that, that's witchcraft. When you go to the doctor, what you call Western medicine, the same people that would preach, go to that doctor, would also be the same people that would say what is natural, what is natural law, natural law, universal law, universe, the one who spoke these things we are into existence, universe, that's what universe is. Kingdom law, they would try to tell us that is witchcraft. But is it controlling? Where if the Bible says, hey, amethyst is something that's great for you, if the Bible says get some sardius, if the Bible talks about the earth is like lapis lazuli, that's what it actually says, that the Most High, he compares the earth to lapis lazuli. Would you say the Most High is into witchcraft because he would therefore say that these things are all right? Would you say the Most High is into witchcraft because he took a golden effort and put it on the chest of the Levite and then had the 12 precious stones put inside of it, right? Would you say that the Most High therefore is thinking of things as far as witchcraft? Of course we wouldn't. So it's not about witchcraft per se, as far as what our culture is. We're looking through a different culture, right? And culture is always going to be important, no matter what's going on with you as you get older and stuff like that. Culture is always going to be important. It's always going to be important for you to look through the lens of culture. So, I brought you over here. I know you're a little bored right now and stuff, but you were making a lot of noise. I figured you need some love. I'm gonna let you go in a second, but listen to what Mom is saying, because we want to make sure, unlike what a lot of us happen, he's going to hear this stuff when he's young. He's going to hear it's okay to be able to see a precious stone. It's okay to burn incense, which, by the way, the Bible says that our praise should be like a sweet savory nostril, and talks about incense in Revelation. And we know that incense was used in the temple. It was used in the at the Ark of the Covenant. It should be used on a normal basis, right? But we are taught to be against ourselves. So when you're talking about someone else's dark ages, while they were saying that everything is witchcraft and trying to control the people and perverting the word of Yah to control the people, at the same time that they would say the dark ages were, we had kingdoms that were fully functioning. The kingdom of Yah still existed in West Africa, right? You even see that in maps up to the 1700s. The kingdom of Judah in Nigeria and Ghana and stuff like that, and we didn't mind still being in a position where we had what was precious stones and what the Bible said was all right. So if the Bible says it's okay, if the Most High created these things, if the Most High says that we can partake in these things, then why would we consider that it's going to be witchcraft? The only reason we do is because somebody else told us it was.
Hi, New York T Queen rides. I mean, exactly. I think it's dismissive when people start, hollering witchcraft for things, and the main people who are hollering witchcraft, they have no idea what witchcraft is, what the purpose or the intent or the goal is. They've just been told that anything that they don't understand is witchcraft, and it was the same type of thing back in the Dark Ages when someone didn't like what someone was doing or wanted to accuse them of something, they would say witchcraft and have them burned to the stake, or hurt in some kind of weird way. What we're talking about is our knowledge of the composition of the earth, something that comes from deep within the earth. We're made from earth. You know, crystals are made from earth. Crystals are made by the Most High. Crystals are discussed in the Bible. They've been used for thousands of years. It's just now that people are waking up more and coming into the knowledge of things that are thousands of years old and practices that were considered backwards. It's interesting how the system works to control by limiting the knowledge of something. And then when people become more woke or intuitively aligned with the spirit, they start waking up and start saying, "Hey, why? What is this?" And then they actually experience it, like someone gets their first crystal or feels a connection with a rock or feels the energy of something. It's just the intuition of that person becoming more attuned. It's not that the crystal didn't have the same frequency or vibration or energy that it has now. It's not that an old sweater that someone, people will be in a relationship or they'll lose somebody and they will hold on to their old clothes. Why? Because that item is holding on to the energy of that person. It has their smell. It has that memory of them attached to it. Those are frequencies, and it's an energy. Everything that we own has an energy to it. It's just that crystals are special because that energy is so focused. Crystals will focus energy, they align energy, they provide healing, they provide a frequency that is very attractive if it is something that you need. Crystals, just like everything else on this earth, has a consciousness, a an energy, an intelligence. Everything in this world has an energy, a frequency, and intelligence associated with it. And it's not that it doesn't have it, it's just that we aren't aware of it because we're not intuitive. Sometimes we're not intuitively inclined enough to notice what's happening around us. There are a lot of things that are happening around us that we just can't perceive. And crystals connect us with different energies, and they also, they can connect us with good energy, or if you put an intention, you can put an energy into a crystal. It's just like when you, or anything really, you can put an energy on it. That's why a lot of times when people will have a breakup, they'll throw away all the stuff that's associated with that person or get rid of it because it's carrying that energy from them. Just like um, a crystal stores energy. Um, it stores memory, but it does it so well That's why it's used in computers. Crystals are used in computers. Our computer chips are made of crystals. Why? Because they can store energy very efficiently. And guess what else is a crystal? Melanin is a crystal. Melanin stores ancestral information. It gives us the blueprint for our DNA. It directs all of our function in our bodies. Um, so crystals are basically they are inherent to our existence on this earth. We're they're made of the same types of things that we're made of, and they help us by realigning our energy to be better in tune with reality. Because a lot of times I think we're not living in reality. We're living in our perceptions and our programming and what we've been taught about what reality is. Meanwhile, there's a real reality, and there's the virtual reality or some concocted reality that someone told you. The reason why a lot of people hate themselves is because they don't know the true reality of themselves. They don't know the real nature and the miraculous nature of their existence. The reason why people can hurt each other is because they don't understand how important we are, and how um, and they don't feel that connection that we actually have, like that everything on this earth is connected, that we're all one. Like, you hear some more woke uh, brothers and sisters say one love, or everything is everything, because they intuitively, even if they don't consciously understand that we're all this energy and we're all connected and we're all one, they somehow understand that through their own intuition, through their melanin, through their ancestral memory, through their memory and their knowledge of the world. Like, sometimes we'll know something, and we won't know why we know something, we just know it, and that's our intuition. That's um, our other nature, our true nature. And so um, people will say, "Oh, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. You can't explain why this happened. You can't explain this. You can't explain that." But you don't have to explain everything for something to be able to work. Yes, you have to trust it. As Naya says, you have to trust that just because you don't understand the mechanics behind the bridge that you drive over every day doesn't mean you don't trust it. That doesn't mean that just because you don't understand how something works, that you can't use it for your benefit. And people who are more intuitive, more aware of of their instincts, more connected to their instincts and their intuition, they feel different things more strongly than other people. And if you were to hand them a crystal, like, say, this black tourmaline that I'm holding. Oh, can you see it? Oh no.
It's reversed.
Okay. Oh, it's reversed. Okay.
In the screen because you were showing them something to read.
Okay. If you were to hand them a crystal, they might feel the protective energy of this crystal. They might feel what the owner of this crystal, or the person that dug this crystal up, was feeling. Oftentimes, people will say you need to cleanse them or clean them, because these crystals do store energy from the people that handle them, from the place where they were. They carry an energy, just like everything. Just like, people will um, buy a foreign car, uh, and it's because the energy associated with it. It's the thoughts that people put on it. Thoughts carry energy, and so things only have value when people put energy towards them. The energy they have inherently, and also the energy that people put towards them. And the more something is esteemed, the more it's valued. A lot of times, and crystals are very highly esteemed because they already have that inherent value, and because people value them because of what they can do. Um, Barbara said, "How do you cleanse crystals?" There are multiple ways to clean crystals. I mean, you can put them in water, wash them off. Just like you clean something clean, like like we clean ourselves. You can wash them, depending on how they're made. In terms of their composition, because some crystals will dissolve. like, you can make sugar crystals, but if you put them in water, they're going to dissolve. Or you can cleanse them by burying them. You can bury them back in the earth because that's where they came from. Some people do say putting them in the moon will cleanse them. Some people say sunlight will cleanse them, putting them in the sun. Also, sage, saging them or smudging them, where you take sage and you burn the sage. And, sage is actually highly antimicrobial and antibacterial in terms of the herb. So Native Americans, our ancestors would burn sage because it actually cleans the air, not just spiritually cleansing, it also physically cleanses things, because it kills, like we spray Lysol to kill germs. Burning sage will also kill germs and kill bacteria and clean a space. That's right, Minister Sonia. Some people use salt to cleanse crystals as well, or salt water. Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
No, I was just saying hello to somebody. They said hello.
Y'all said I stopped burning sage because the Most High said it was for praying only.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, if that's your belief system, did you get that from a scripture, or are you just saying the Holy Spirit said that to you? I mean, if that's what the Holy Spirit said, But I wouldn't necessarily say that that's something that we have written somewhere, or something that we have that's agreed. But but sage, I mean, even think about what sage is, as far as even when you're talking about sage and stuff, you're talking about plants. Like you could eat sage. So it's not just something only for praying per se. But I mean, if that's where you are spiritually, then we can respect everybody's belief system on here. For sure. But I just don't want to think that everybody's gonna start throwing away their sage and start saying I'm not gonna burn it unless I'm praying. You can use it to pray, but there's other incense that's actually, if you're talking about Israelite culture, there's other incense that that they would have used in the temple or something like that, if that's what you're going for. But yeah, sage can be used for many different things. Remember all the herbs, we're talking about herbs versus crystals now, but the herbs are for the healing of the nation. And that's even in Revelation. And when people bring that up, it's actually interesting because I'm not saying we take that out of context, but we actually aren't going as deep as what it is, because really, when you talk about the herbs are for the healing of the nation, the herbs are even getting us to a place to where you're talking about where heaven is. So we ain't talking about in this body. We're talking about in a glorified body, right, with no sin attached. That still herbs are for the healing to the nations. Now we know in the Bible it mentions herbs a bit in there as well, besides Revelation. But just the fact that we have it in Revelation, there is actually talking about it's an eternal thing. Plant life being part of an eternal thing. Us still eating from the fruit of the tree of life, which we didn't have access to because Adam and Eve, our greatest ancestors, if you will, as far as oldest, they ate from the tree of knowledge of great and evil, which is why we have to learn how to navigate through things that are of Elohim and things that are not. But when you're talking about even those things, all of it is for healing, and we have to look at this thing holistically. Remember the word holy doesn't, we only, like, we do this weird thing with holy where we always focus on set it apart, but it's set apart as a nation that is whole, right? And we are holistic. The thing that sets us apart is that a lot of people only want to live in part, but are not trying to live wholly, WHOLY. So our goal is to make sure that we're holistic in everything, but if the Most High told you, that about sage or whatever, prayerfully, maybe, we'll get there or something. But right now, we haven't really seen much that tells us that sage can only be used with that. If Hakodash, she said that to you, had that conversation, hopefully someday maybe you can teach on it or write something out for us or whatever. But I haven't really seen anything that says that, oh, okay, if you see sage, that you can't use it unless you're praying,
Maybe it was just use incense for prayer, like frankincense.
Frankincense is poured on people. I mean, so You know, you got frankincense that's poured on people. You got frankincense that's burned. You have frankincense. You have certain things that were burned during weddings or wedding ceremonies, right? You have certain things that were burned when you did certain types of offering. You had certain things that were burned just in the temple. You had certain things. Remember, David had the temple set up when David had the temple set up. Remember, they used to have worship 24 hours a day. You know, we used to, okay, Sunday, let's check it off the box. You know, we went to church, we went to a building for 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, whatever. And we got our praise on, and now we're going to go ahead and leave. But, you know, they had people that were worshiping around the clock. So, you know, once again, we live in a different environment. That's why even like with some of the stuff that we have questions on with the holy days and things like that, when people will bring up and they'll say, what about this? And what about this? Know that as long as you're a stranger in a strange land, you can't even really technically perform the holy days the way they're supposed to be, you know, done. You know, so there's a lot of stuff that comes with it. So, but great question. I'm not trying to come. I hope I'm not coming across as I'm belittling anybody. You know, I'm just trying to make it known. You know, that was a comment I haven't heard. You know, but just responding to let it be known because, you know, I know this. I know us, and we're very micro here. We're very detail oriented, and so we just wanted to make sure we, you know, honored that, you know, that comment.
Yeah, totally. So frankincense and myrrh are commonly used, especially frankincense for prayer.
Yeah, I mean, I use frankincense for oil sometimes.
Perfume things.
You know, so
Yeah.
it just depends, you know. But yeah, these things are whole. They have so many different usages. So you know,
the essential oils and things that come from these resins and plants and things, because we're talking about frequency and smell is based on a frequency, and you know people use essential oils because of their healing frequencies. Things like frankincense, which are holy for consecration and sanctifying a space, and myrrh, which is for healing.
You're talking about sacraments?
Sacraments, yeah. Frankincense is usually associated with sacraments, and they have, you know, these different frankincense is a resin from a tree, and it's very healing. Resins that come out of trees are usually for healing that tree, like say pine sap, the thing that makes turpentine. The pine sap is for healing of that tree, so it carries a healing vibration, because that's its purpose. The intent of frankincense, you know, those resins that come out, or what is it, birch, you know, there's sap that comes out of those types of trees. Those things are they heal the trees. Lavender has a calming frequency. The reason why people feel calm when they use lavender essential oils is because it has a calming frequency.
Or even what, I'm forgetting the name of the blue stone. There's the blue stone that's out of Revelation 21 that is there for. No, that's not in Revelation. No, there's a blue stone. Well, actually, you know what? I have it here. I don't know if I'm able to see the whole name. Yeah, beryl. Beryl, and beryl is something people use for not just healing, but also like beryl is something people literally like dip in water. In certain cultures, they'll actually dip it all the way in water, and they'll let it sit there, and then they'll either take the stone out or just leave it in as they drink. Is it beryl?
Yeah. No, excuse me.
Maybe it's not. It's green. I'm sorry, I said blue. It's green. But yeah,
sapphire is the blue one.
But beryl. As far as beryl, I was thinking blue for some reason in my head. But beryl actually, it will. It actually is used like even for like people who are dealing with demons, or people who are dealing with a lot of spirits that are going through them and stuff. And this is out of Revelation, right? So these are not us just saying, oh yeah, we went and we Googled and we talked about this and that. There's a lot of information that you get from different places, but we try to be very very detail oriented, make sure we know where stuff is coming from. Sometimes we're getting stuff that is romantic as far as definitions of this stuff or things of that nature. But yeah, these things are mentioned in Revelation for a reason. You know, they give you specific stones in a specific order, by the way, as well. which should show that like you can actually have these things as protection. We were talking about amethyst earlier. There's some people that put amethyst by doorways, or outside their homes, just simply to make sure. I believe it was Brother Omar that just told me this. Matter of fact, again, when we were doing when we had a conversation, but some people would literally put it around the house, and you'll see amethyst around, and and people will say that they won't deal with, and amethyst is for protection. But they'll put that in, sometimes put beryl, and they'll tell you that they don't have people who have bad energy or bad spirits, or are even people that they don't want to come in the house. They'll tell you people just don't come. Those type of people just don't come. So, and remember, this stuff is supposed to be a wall around heaven, right? It's literally a wall. Like you have 12 stones, that are going to be around, and it even dips into the foundation that has the 12 apostles' names on them, right? So like this is, when we're talking about, a lot of times we're coming, especially people that are saying witchcraft, and we've been told that long enough. These are people that obviously we haven't studied up, or even people that will use these things. It was like, why not use it through your lens or through the culture that you should be seeing through? We talked about that earlier this rising. I could put on sunglasses, right? As soon as I put on those sunglasses, matter of fact, the ones I was using as example, they were so big that even if I tried to raise my eyebrows, you couldn't even see. So it didn't matter how I was looking at you, right? You would automatically assume something about my look just because of the sunglasses being on, and because of how I had the sunglasses on, I could only look through that color that those sunglasses presented. So we have to, like my wife was saying, we have to get out of everybody else's, thought process as far as the kingdom of heaven, and we have to come into knowledge for ourselves.
And crystals are very complicated, just like we're very complicated. Science can't explain how the human body works completely. Science, can't explain how a lot of natural phenomenon work. We, because we're just now coming back into this knowledge of the crystals, we may not understand every component of how a crystal works, in terms of their duties and their responsibilities, their jobs, what they do, what they provide for this world. Like crystals usually connect us with the spiritual. Crystals are form kind of like a entry between the spiritual and the physical. Crystals, they oftentimes people attribute different characteristics for crystals based on what they do. Like we were talking about amethyst, and amethyst, it connects us. It's really a stone for connecting us with the spiritual, and allowing us to make, will allow you to make communication with it, and have wisdom based on basically spiritual knowledge. So amethyst usually comes in purple, and purple is usually associated with higher frequencies. If we look at our energies, like those crystals that are described in Revelation, there are 12 of them. There are also 12 energy centers within the body, which we call meridians, or some people call them chakras. And
depending on your body, though, some people only have like 7. Right?
Yeah, some people only have 7 or 8 chakras, or energy centers, meridians, and different practices like traditional Chinese medicine, our own ancestral African knowledge that we're not privy to at this point in time. That one day we will, probably restore that knowledge and realize that, hey, we've known these things all along. But traditional Chinese medicine talks about the energy centers, the meridians, and qi, and how, if there's a blockage, if one of those energy centers comes out of alignment, or if there's a blockage of that energy center, it will cause a disease or an issue in the body. I often talk about in our natural medicine class that how disease starts in the spirit. Everything starts in spirit. Everything starts in a higher dimension, and is manifested in our physical dimension. Our thoughts are what connect us, with the spiritual aspect. Our spirit, our psyche, what's going on in our head also manifests in our bodies and causes a whole series of chemical reactions to go off.
And that's in if you want scriptural proof, because once again, I know when we have this conversation, there's going to be people that are going to freak out a little bit. So if you want to look in your Bible for what you just said there, as far as all the sickness starting in the spirit, which I think for the most part we should agree on, but look up right before the Sermon on the Mount. We have a whole Sermon on the Mount series, by the way, on YouTube, so you can look it up for yourself on one of our playlists. But Matthew chapter 4, verse 23. Right there, and it's Yashua before he's going into goes up to the Sermon on the Mount and takes the people that are following him. It says, first things first, that he went to all the synagogues in Galilee and he went preaching about the kingdom of heaven. It says, then as he preached about the kingdom of heaven, why did he establish it first? Because next he knew he was dealing with sickness. And so the kingdom of heaven was there to deal with sickness. Once you deal with the sickness, now you can deal with the dis-ease. So it actually gives you the order, the structure. Why did he start talking about the kingdom of heaven? I can't deal with the dis-ease until I deal with the sickness. Well, sickness is because we're out of alignment as far as kingdom principles. Even she mentioned the word psyche or psyche in the Greek, it means the soul. So the study of the soul. So spiritually, we got some stuff off, and the soul is the conduit from the spirit to the body. The soul is the doorway. So, that's, we talked about it a little bit this rising, but it's bits or Genesis chapter 2, a humus man, Adam, is there. He's made out of Adamach, the dark, rich nutrient earth. And then there's a spirit. He made man in Genesis 1. He has the spirit he put in man, but he's still not moving, right? It just says that he's a body with a spirit, but it doesn't talk about he has life or anything. Then it says Yah breathed into him and he became a living soul. He had a psychology now that until he sinned was always in line with HaKodash, with Yeshua HaMashiach, who at that time would have been one with the Father, Aleph Beit, right? So all of those being in tune, the kingdom of heaven, Eden, even part of Eden, the definition of Eden, Aradan, even means kingdom. So, that's when you look at that biblically, everything that we're saying is in alignment. We're once again, we're not talking about something this is just a theory or something like that. This is what the word of Yah says. We're just not thinking through our culture and through our lens. We've been busy looking through somebody else's.
Exactly. Someone asked the question, what are there some tips for migraines? And if you understand kind of the essence of a migraine is a pressure, right? A resistance of flow, a blockage in essence. And spiritually, it represents someone who is resisting the flow of life, who is holding on to a lot of fear, and needs to be able to trust the flow of life. Also, sexually, be able to release as well. And a good crystal for that release and relaxation is jade. So, wearing a jade necklace may help with that, grounding yourself and connecting with those more earthly energy centers and say the abdomen area, breathing into those, grounding by standing out on the grass, going out into the sunlight, into the grass, onto the ground with your bare feet, and really connecting and grounding with the earth will help to alleviate a headache or a migraine in the moment. And, just allowing for the natural process of life to flow will relieve those migraines. But when people talk about, say, like crystal healing, people use crystals to heal themselves. They use them to protect themselves because they focus an energy to help clear a blockage of one of those energy centers, or one of those meridians, or one of those chakras, depending on which culture or religion you're talking about. Energy centers and meridians and chakras and different things are talked about in different religions and different cultures for thousands of years. This is not new knowledge. It's just new to us at this point, for people who are waking up and becoming more aware of things that have existed since the beginning of time that they just weren't aware of. But people use the different crystal energies, and crystals are pretty much all healing. They can be set, they can be programmed, just like you program a computer chip, which is actually a crystal. You can program them in different ways. That's why the what was the was the Mayan, the Aztecs had crystal skulls, which they used to store energy of their ancestors, the memories and knowledge. And when you think of like different comic book series, a lot of times comic book writers and writers in general are very learned and have um, a wide spectrum of knowledge that they have, and they incorporate that into their stories, into their comic books. They know a lot about history, about culture, about religion, different things. And when you look at Superman, and how he's sent to the earth, and when he wants to connect with his ancestors, with his father, with his mother, he goes to this crystal cave, and it holds all the memories of his world that was destroyed. That's not a made up thing. Someone took their knowledge of history and of culture and things and made that story and presented it as like almost a fairy tale, but crystal storing energy and memory and thoughts is it was a real thing. We just are now coming back into that knowledge.
And you have to even remember the story of Superman. Like, where does that come from? You're dealing with when you're dealing with the story of Superman, you're dealing with two people who are Jews. Or I don't know if they would have preferred to have been called Jewish. More than likely, they would have preferred to have been called Jewish. But when you're talking about, Superman, you're dealing with two guys who were Jewish. And so when you're dealing with two people who were Jewish, when you're dealing with two people who were Jewish, then they were basically trying to talk. So what happened is they were trying to say Jews were under attack, not just as far as in Germany only, right, but supposedly all over the world. And so they were saying that they were Israel, right? You got to think about the story, right? So they were trying to say we're Israel. So what do they say? Well, they say, how do we fit in? We're supposed to be more powerful. We come from another planet, right? We're supposed to come from another world. Matter of fact, the S on his chest, if you do some research, the S wasn't actually supposed to be an S. It was supposed to represent something else. Everything about him was from a place that is looked differently, and everything culturally is differently. So when he wears his Superman uniform or hero outfit, etc., when he wears his uniform, it's not a disguise. That's who he is. But then they said, okay, how do we fit in? So they created a character, Clark Kent, right? And that was, unlike many, Clark Kent is actually his disguise. Superman is who he is. Everybody else, the Flash is Barry's disguise, or Batman is Bruce's disguise, or Wonder Woman is Diana's disguise. Really, actually, I guess you could say Wonder Woman is who she is too, but nevertheless, so that's what they were doing with that. And they were saying, so he was coming over with his culture, and he had all these crystals that came with him, right? But he had to hide them, or he didn't know about them until he got older. He gets older. He finally comes into knowledge of himself, and part of that knowledge of himself is these crystals. And all of a sudden, he could talk to who? His father. And he can talk to the Father all of a sudden because he has knowledge of himself. Meanwhile, though, on Earth, they have crystals, and not knowing what to do with crystals, they also have people that use crystals to what? Now we want to get into witchcraft. They have people that pervert the usage of crystals. And so to be able to zap his strength and take him away from who he is, now you have kryptonite, right? And this is somebody simply using, ancient biblical principles, right? That we know, that we were aware of, that we would not have shied away from. This is not, I know not all African tribes are the same, right? But this is not a tribe that's out here. Some people will have this weird, once again, come from somebody else's culture, that all these African tribes must be linked into voodoo, right? Not even knowing what voodoo is, right? But we'll make that assumption or whatever. Like, no, this Israel understood that there were crystals, that there was gold, that there was silver, that there was diamonds, like that they had something. If you look up a lot of Israelites that were unearthed, not the ones modern, I'm talking about ancient Israel, they have found that there are ankhs around some of their necks. Now, they didn't worship, they didn't use the ankhs to worship, but they understood the principle. Remember, we are mixed with Kemet. So you're seeing all these things happening, whatever. So that story of Superman is telling you a specific story, but but we don't think. See, somebody else said, okay, we're going to take on your culture. We're going to tell you that you are not Israel, or you are not Superman. We are Superman, and we're going to tell the story
Mm.
to be hope for other people who are Jews. That's why, even look at his hair color. His hair color is black. His eyes are blue. He's supposed to be like this really great version of somebody. He's Clark. He's got very specific names that are used to be able to give these other people hope. And so everybody else is using, this stuff, and then telling you when you use it, they teach you it's witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is getting their noses pierced and stuff. But when you get your nose pierced, they say, see, you're not a great representative of the kingdom. Not even talking about the fact that Rachel, no, Rebecca, Israel's mother, Rebecca, our mother, guess how she showed up to Isaac? With a ring in her nose, with a gold ring in her nose. But we don't talk about with a whole bunch of piercings in her ear. That was her culture. But we would look at that today and we would say, oh, that's proof that she doesn't worship the Most High. We have to be careful with that.
Mm-hmm. And this is a piece of amethyst.
It will continue to grow.
And the crystals continue to grow over time. So this will continue to grow. This is a nicely sized piece. And it feels, you can feel the energy from it. It actually feels good to hold this. These are aids for us, just like the leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nation, just like herbs are for healing us. Crystals are here to help us on our journey, because we have free will and because we can do random things. Crystals don't do random things. Crystals are consistent, they're stable, and they keep an order, and they live in order, and they're living. I don't know if I can say beings, but they're living structures that grow. Like, we know that they grow. We can see sugar crystals forming and growing and coming together. So.
And there's no, and once again, it's holy, right? So anything that's going to help, and really, I guess, I don't know if we want to get into a whole bunch of medicinal properties and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, like you're talking about things that are whole, don't forget, so once again, melanin is a crystal. So where is melanin? Melanin's all up in you and around you, right? You also have to add other things, like what's on things we'll find on rocks or things like that. Things like magnesium. What do you need in your body? Magnesium. What are you going to find around these things like she was talking about? You're going to see oxygen. What do you need in your body? Oxygen. There's these things that we're trying to separate ourselves from, are you and you are them. Once again, just like you can do with food, and you can genetically modify something, and now you have a chemical reaction which goes against natural law. And by the way, like when you take a medicine, how do you figure out if a medicine is worth, it's worth anything? If it's something that's valuable, you have to see how it breaks down melanin. So you have to modify it to be able to break down melanin. Why would you even break down melanin, right? But same thing. So if somebody's taking a crystal and is trying to modify its usage, right, versus using it in its natural intent, now we have what we can start talking about as witchcraft. If somebody takes, we think of witchcraft as the movies, right? So if somebody takes the eye of Newton, throws it in with this and throws it in with that, well, that's not, what I'm saying? But that's what we think, right? Or take a hair of this person and we're going to put this hair in, and we're going to take the blood of this and put it in. Well, that's not, now we're going outside of nature. Matter of fact, when we eat, we're not even supposed to eat blood, right? We're not supposed to have stuff like give it to me raw, give it to me bloody, things like that. People say that's not our culture, right? Because you're eating the blood of another, and you're taking on the properties of another living being. So, but if you do things within their nature, you allow for things to be able to take their proper course. And that's what we're talking about. So when we're talking about precious stones, we're not talking about and I think that's the confusion. So somebody will say, well, somebody else, uses lapis lazuli to be able to cause harm and this and that or whatever. Well, then they have to go out of their way to do some really wild stuff to be able to get it there. But when we say lapis lazuli makes us one with the earth. It makes us feel solid. It makes us feel like we're flowing. It gives us a sense of peace. It gives us a sense of protection, things of that nature. So a lot of people are telling us all these different things. So you have to make sure that you're in a righteous position, right legal standing, including natural law. Well, whatever's naturally around us and in us is in it. We talked about this before. Think about, you go outside and you breathe out. What do you breathe out? When you breathe out carbon dioxide. You're breathing out something that the tree needs, right? So the tree receives what you need. What do they breathe out? They say, okay, thank you very much for the carbon dioxide. We're going to bless you with oxygen, and then you could do the, and then you continue where you're interdependent upon each other. So the same is with the stone. Now, if somebody goes outside though and chops down the tree, that's not natural, right? You chop down the tree, well, the tree says, okay, I must die, and therefore I can't give you the carbon dioxide. You cause a chemical reaction, if you will. I know I'm not using chemical exactly right. I'm just trying to give you the context where you cause a reaction that now has some side effects, what we call side effects, and things of that nature, right? So that's what we're trying to talk about when we're talking about keeping things holy or keeping things within their nature. Is it possible that somebody can use something for witchcraft? Sure. Somebody could use a strand of hair for witchcraft, but a strand of hair that's in your head is, is natural.
I mean, people use words for witchcraft more often than not. When people talk about cursing, really cursing isn't four little words. Cursing is telling somebody that you'll never be anything, you'll never amount to anything, you won't make it, you're nothing, you're stupid, you do idiotic things, you're silly. That's cursing somebody. That's using words to hurt somebody. That's a curse, and that could be considered witchcraft. But people practice that every day, all day, and they don't feel any type of way about it. They think, oh, that's just normal behavior.
And then same people turn around and tell you that you shouldn't be messing with a stone. It's like, okay, well, you finished cussing everybody out 5 hours today. All right, now you coming to me, you happen to see me with a stone on, and you telling me not to have a stone. Well, you got to figure out, maybe, if I were to look at your life, I would probably see a lot of cognitive dissonance. I probably wouldn't have to search that hard.
And here I have some more crystals. These are crystal quartz, and they're used to, amplify. They're used to amplify the energy of other crystals. And you can know that a crystal is real if you feel it and it's been sitting on its own and it feels cold. Or if if it's been sitting in the sun, it's going to feel hot. But if you just sit it at room temperature and then you touch it, it should feel cold. If it doesn't, then it's probably plastic. You can also test crystals if they're real, if you put them in fire. If you take a lighter to them, they shouldn't melt. If they melt, then you've gotten some plastic and you've got them ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these it feels nice, especially when you first touch it. It feels very cold. It looks like ice, but it's not. It's crystal quartz, and many crystals are considered quartz. They're just classified in different ways, but most, probably, I'd say at least 60% of the crystals on Earth are considered a quartz crystal based on their elemental composition, and where they're found and how they're made. And just the different minerals that are found in them will make them turn different colors, to where they appear different, and they feel different, and can help you with different things. Just like red jasper is great for blood, and it's one of those crystals spoken about in Revelations as the foundations of heaven.
It's the first crystal mentioned out of the 12. I'm trying to find, I got a picture of it.
And jasper is also for nighttime protection. But it has a high iron content, and things that have like a high iron content sometimes turn red. And so iron is needed for your blood circulation. Iron fixes oxygen. It grabs onto oxygen and allows for your blood platelets, your red blood cells, to be able to circulate the oxygen within your body. Without iron, something called a condition called anemia arises, and that just means your body's not, your cells aren't getting proper oxygen because you don't have enough iron to carry that oxygen around your body. This is a red jasper bracelet, and it feels very nice also. But I used to wear red jasper quite frequently, especially for nighttime protection type of things, and anemia, different things like that. This one that I'm wearing, because my mother gave it to me, but it's carnelian, and carnelian helps with confidence, and it's a red-orange color, which is usually associated with your survival energy centers, or what they call the sacral chakra, which is in your abdomen towards your sexual organs, and is good for your survival and sexual energy and different things like that. This is unakite. It's green and pink. It's a crystal as well, and this is also for healing. Great for feminine issues and also fertility. Chef K said, "Do I sell crystals?" I definitely could. I have quite a few, and I have really reliable sources. So, if someone was interested in buying crystals, it wasn't really a business model, but maybe if I talk to somebody and they're interested in a particular crystal, I could help them get that crystal, or crystal bracelets and things like that they might be interested in. At one point, I was very, very into the crystal energy. It just came naturally to me that I gravitated towards them. Like as soon as I started learning about them, it just stuck with me. Just like plants, like I guess I look for, like we were talking about the women's meeting yesterday night. I love looking for patterns in things, seeing the patterns and a repeating theme in something is very satisfying for me. When I see that, these red stones are all associated with energy, vitality, sexuality, survival, confidence. These brightly orange and red stones are usually associated with that, or like jasper, for instance, associated with blood.
Yeah, but and if you think about it too, the same thing that you're talking about with stones, they're associated with stuff that you eat too. If you look at the color coordination, so if it's red, jasper and stuff, you're talking about blood. Well, guess what? Apples are good for blood. Nice and things like that.
Great for circulation.
Tomatoes are going to be good for your heart.
Beets.
Beets are going to be good. So it's like the same thing that we're talking about. Matter of fact, I was going to say when you had the clear stone up, the quartz. Like I was trying to also show too. Remember, we keep talking about what the original term white means before it became something else. This is considered to be white, at least by the ancient definition. So this actually would be a white stone. So when you see a stone that you usually think of as white, it's usually something that actually is devoid of color, but it actually has it's devoid of a lot of color, but it's basically still has a little bit of color hanging on. This is actually what's considered to be white. White is just clear, transparent, or even bright. And if you notice, the light coming off of it or whatever, is bright. So this really isn't necessarily white, although I guess it's somewhat
transparent
clear
as well. It's just cloudy right now. This is selenite. But it usually appears a lot like this crystal quartz when you see it.
Okay.
But this is typically a transparent stone. This started off transparent, but has been sitting in the sun a while. And it's iridescent. You can't really tell on the camera that it iridesces, but that's selenite, and it's good for cleansing. And actually, you can use selenite to cleanse your other stones. If you set your other stones on some selenite or with selenite, it has a cleansing energy. It looks like ice. Yeah, it does look like ice. Actually, all of these stones, which are different stones. This is a larger piece of selenite, and you can see this is iridescent. And it's pretty much you could see through this if you tried. Like if you put it on paper and you could possibly read or see the print through this. Quite a few stones like this. So my God, I'm full of crystals right now. I'm gonna put it. So this black tourmaline, which in black stones. So we talked about that last time. The black stones are for healing and protection. Black is a healing color and it's a protective color. Black usually dispels negative energy. Like if you're in a situation that has a lot of negativity, you can kind of alleviate that negative energy by surrounding yourself with black and black stones. Black is a serious color. It's a grounding color, and it's a protective color. Tourmaline, these stones, these black tourmaline, are great for blocking EMF radiation, like the radiation from like microwaves and different things like that are, computers, phones, all those things. And this is shungite. This is also a black stone that's also great for, protection and shielding. This is shungite, and this is tourmaline. Both black stones typically appear black. This one, one of these also has some gray or I guess white or iridescent stones in it, but this is tourmaline. It's overall black. And this piece, and they're all, crystals like snowflakes are all different. They're never the same. They're never the same shape. They're all crystals, but they, just like our fingerprints are different. The Most High has, really creates a beautiful display of crystals that, like us, are unique, but they have the same frequency. Just like we're all here together tonight. If we weren't vibrating at the same frequency, we would not meet each other. We would not be in the same space, physically or spiritually. We just couldn't exist in the same space. And the same thing with crystals. When you don't no longer need a crystal, or you don't vibrate or on the same frequency of that crystal gets lost. It leaves. You no longer need it anymore. It actually has its own consciousness, like many things that we don't realize have consciousness, like plants. Plants also have consciousness, and are there to help us. And yeah, people know that if they talk to their plants, they grow better. And, science tries to explain it away by saying they like the carbon dioxide that's coming from your breath. But they like to be sung to. They like to listen to music. I know I'm talking about plants, but they're not just like inanimate objects. And I don't even know if there's really a such thing as an inanimate object, because every object can carry an energy, can carry a frequency, and can carry spirits as well.
I guess just real quick with the black stone too as well. Once again, stuff going back to making it holistic and coming together. Black, just like so if you are considered to be a black person, I know somebody's going to argue, oh, what's black and blah blah. I'm not here to argue all that, but if you're considered to be a black, a Moor, if you want to say black, Moor, Negro, Alkebulan, African, Kemetic, Kush, whatever you want to call yourself, Native, etc., person of color. The list goes on and on. Just like the black or whatever is for protection, that's why you have to be out. That's why we are children of the sun. That's why we have to be out of the sun longer than everybody else. Why? Because this protects us more. So if you have somebody that has less melanin, right? Less melanin crystals, therefore, right? So less melanin crystals for protection. If you have less of that, you can go out in the sun and get something in 13 seconds that maybe somebody who has more melanin crystals might have to be out for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, things of that nature. So, yeah.
That they really want. Like this is Ulexolite, I believe. Like
it's the same as
like Ulysses. Yeah, it's very similar. So like you could actually see through this if I put it on a piece of paper. You could read the words to this. This is Amazonite. This is one of the stones in the heavenly. No. Okay. Oh, it's the emerald. Oh, okay. Well, emeralds are in the. Okay, this is a raw piece of emerald, and stones when they're found, they're usually raw. They don't look like much but rocks, and it's not until, not unless you know what you're looking at, or it's tumbled or processed that you realize, oh, top processed or cut that you realize, oh, that's what we're looking at. So that's on the screen here on TikTok. That's an emerald that someone would use in jewelry that's been cut and processed, and this is raw emerald. And
emerald can be many different things. Emerald also deals with promises. Like remember in Revelation chapter 4, the rainbow is above the head of the Most High while he's on the throne, and it's an emerald rainbow. An emerald is, I can't remember which stone, if it's the fourth or fifth stone, something like that. It also can represents patience, or even help you with long suffering. For those of us that have issues with that or whatever, so you could have some emerald around. Yeah, so that's something that we can be aware of as well when you're dealing with emeralds.
Those green stones would be great for anxiety and issues of issue of the heart. Someone was asking about which stones would be great for anxiety. I would say something that's very common would be like rose quartz. Would be great a calming stone for emotional healing. Something like lepidolite, which is a purple stone. I don't have one right. Well, I might have one. Actually, here's one. Lepidolite, which is like a purple stone. It's for anxiety and grief and depression. Okay, here's a lepidolite bracelet and just a tumbled lepidolite stone.
It's a lot like amethyst.
It looks like amethyst, except for it's more dull than amethyst. It's very very opaque and dull. It doesn't really have the same type of crystal-like shine that amethyst does, but it is a purple stone. It's for anxiety and grief and depression, and a very calming stone for somebody who has heartache. It has lithium in it, and people, modern medicine uses lithium to help calm people down as well. But if you want to go the natural route or use stones, you could use some lepidolite. These stones have those minerals and elements that are being used in medication and different things like that. So they definitely have scientific medicinal properties to them because they are carrying the same minerals and different chemical components that you would find in certain medications. This is a lapis lazuli point, and it has gold. It's blue and gold, and oftentimes it'll have green in it, and it'll look like the earth if you look at it, especially if it's in a circular shape. It's lapis lazuli. I can't really tell the color that well here. Yeah, with the lighting. Let's see. So, yeah, there's a whole lot of stones. I mean, I'm sitting here with a whole bowl full of stones.
We often visit the Smithsonian.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. This is another green stone. It's called aventurine, and it's associated with money and success. There's just so many stones. This is a desert rose, and it doesn't even look like what you would consider a crystal. But also copper and gold and silver are also considered crystals. Why? Because they are have that consistent inner structure. Crystals are based on their inner composition, not necessarily on what they look like on the outside.
So this is copper cup. So it's a crystal cup.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Also,
Yes.
too, I don't know we have any, but we also you have I believe it's jacinth. Jacinth is red, right?
I believe so.
And so jacinth basically is if you look at jacinth is something that's used for like inspiration. So if you look at jacinth is something that actually is used for inspiration. So a lot of people, a lot of cultures actually wear, and I'm not even talking about a long time ago. I'm talking about even in stuff where people during stuff like they would, even in Europe, where they would call it the Renaissance and stuff like that. They actually had jacinth that they would put around for inspiration. So jacinth is something that helps to inspire you, helps you with, and if you're inspired, you're happy, and you'll find certain things that come out of these stones. For all these stones, a lot of them end up with some of the same things. If you look up, what does this stone do? You'll find certain things like joy and happiness and release of anxiety,
Harmony.
or relief of anxiety, harmony, things like that will travel across all of them. Here's another one. Matter of fact, I think there's one specifically that deals with harmony that's on the list as far as Revelation chapter 21. You're dealing with So like Chalcedony here, that's supposed to be one that's specifically for harmony. So Chalcedony, that's one that deals with harmony, being harmonious, leads to a place of joy, happiness, all those great things. You also have there's another one I'm looking for. Uh, even one that represents glory. What's the one that represents glory? Hold on, I guess I went past it. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. So many different things on here. So you have chrysolite, or some of them say I think it's chrysalysis or something like that in Revelation, but it also is known as like chrysolite or chrysale or something like that, chrysale. But chrysolite or chrysoprasus. Thank you, chrysoprasus or chrysoprase. Sorry, yeah. So, it's said chrysoprasus in the King James version, but chrysoprase or chrysoprasus is what you'll find it in. But this is supposed to represent glory, and if you look at it, it's a nice combination of blue and green. Blue talking about calmness and things of that nature. You have green speaking to things that are more like flowing or leading to a place of joy, things of that nature. So you'll see in all these things, when people are telling us to stay away from these things, this is really something that, if this is stuff that Revelation says, even in Revelation, if you think about it, like even if you think about the ephod, right? The ephod has gold and it has the 12 stones, right? That's what you would wear. Well, you have the streets are made of gold in Revelation, and you have these 12 precious stones as well. And you're going to have Israelite names next to doorways that are made also of a stone. I mean, I guess you would, in a weird sense, it's not like a kidney stone per se, but it's a stone that happens when an oyster gets sick or whatever, basically, which is a pearl. Right. And so, but it says these pearls are going to be extremely huge. So like all these things we're talking about are natural things being brought together, physical things being brought together. And somebody will tell you that's witchcraft, but your Bible is telling you and over again, no. And then right after that in Revelation 21, it starts talking about don't forget your herbs. Like think about that, right? The two of the things that people will say that you better be careful and don't get around that. And this is going to be this. Well, you're going to be dealing with crystals. You're going to be dealing with gold, which is a crystal. You're going to be then dealing with water, where people put crystals in water and stuff. And then you're also going to be dealing with herbs right next to each other.
Well, it's like, they talk about the enemy coming to steal, kill, and destroy. To steal somebody's knowledge or their access to things that would help them would be, seemed like it would be a part of the plan of the enemy. To cause confusion and cause fear around something that is so beautiful, such as crystals. It really doesn't even make any sense. We're made from the earth, just like crystals are made from the earth. And sometimes the enemy will make people convinced that humans are bad. Like what I hear lately is that animals are worthwhile, but humans are trash. Get rid of all the humans, but keep the dogs, keep the cats, keep the kitties.
And by the way, animals have enough sense to know about crystals, which is something that's pretty interesting. We don't think about. We would say it's witchcraft or whatever, but animals have enough sense to know about crystals, and you're higher than the animals, right? You're over the animals, and things like salt. Salt is a crystal. What are animals going to make sure that they do? They're going to have salt crystals in their diet. Some of the animals that as far as things that pick it up. Sorry, some of the things that as far as animals. Some of the things that as far as animals, as far as even things they're going to eat and things of that nature, like crocodiles eat certain rocks that helps them to be able to sink to the bottom, because they don't sink to the bottom that well. So they will actually look for certain types of rocks or crystals that actually are digestible and won't hurt them. Right. And at the same time will allow them to sink down. So if you see a crocodile on the bottom of the water, just relaxing for a long time, kind of in a hibernation type state or whatever, it's because that it actually had to eat something, right, that was heavy. and had to change his diet enough, and it could feed off of some of the minerals while it might have had one really big meal it's digesting, but it also is going to have some minerals that it takes, right? These are things that animals do all the time. You have animals, you have gorillas that look for certain minerals and things like that to be able to make sure of it, and they're straight herbivores, right? They only eat plants, right? So, but they're making sure that they get minerals and stuff that they're not going to get from those plants that they eat. There's a reason why elephants will walk around for miles and miles and miles, and then they'll start making sure that they get stuff out of certain water or whatever before they drink the water. Though, what do? They take their trunks, they actually push the water down and stuff, and they make sure that what we would call the silt and everything comes up. And once that comes up, they start drinking. Why they're doing that? They're doing that because they need the minerals. They need the crystals. They need the pieces that are all over the place to be able to ensure that they're getting out of it what they need. So, really, like that's what we're talking about. It's something that's natural. It's something that's in nature. It's something that animals and everything around us, they know about, and for whatever reason they're telling you shouldn't do it. If there's animals that out there that know enough to, hey, I need to get some minerals and some water, like think about this, like they will tell you that you need to have what we call alkaline water, right? So what is alkaline water? Well, we're just going to make sure that it's really pure or something. That's not really going to make it alkaline. A lot of stuff you're buying, if they say it's alkaline, it's not alkaline. But even if you were drinking alkaline water that's natural, now water's been so messed up because we're not great stewards of Yah's provision, the earth. We done messed up the earth and the water and stuff so much that we can't. It's hard to find places, right? That's why even with the land, we're looking for water source, but we got to make sure it's clean, right? However, if you look at it, when you drink water is supposed to have minerals in it. It's supposed to have rocks. It's supposed to have crystals in it. It's supposed to have certain things in it that are there. So as the water flows and the current moves and it pushes things from one place to another, you're having not only certain things that are there, but it's also supposed to push minerals down because you don't want it to be stagnant. If you got water that doesn't flow or water doesn't ever get stirred up, that's a problem. That water is not going to be something you need to drink, because if it's something that's not flowing, it's not going to help your body to flow. So it's like the same principle. But these are things that are natural, and for whatever reason, we keep trying to make it a point to say, "Oh no, this is something that's perverted. This is something that we shouldn't touch. This is something that's bad." Yeah, if water's not flowing, it's dead, right? So we want to make sure that even in that, so that's why we say little things like, "Hey, if you drink some water, make sure every once in a while maybe you put a pinch of salt in there. Maybe you put some lemons in there." We think electrolytes are this huge deal because somebody put electrolytes and started telling you electrolytes is everything, and so you got to go get Gatorade with coloring and sugar and salt and all this, too much salt and all this stuff extra added. But you could just simply take some water, put some salt in it, put a pinch of salt in there, put some lemon in there, some lime in there, something like that. Maybe if you want to mix it with something, heck, you throw whatever you want in there, really, as long as it's healthy, obviously. But you want to put some dandelion, I don't know what you want to put in there, whatever, and then let it sit for a little bit and then stir it up, drink it. You've now drank water and you have electrolytes. That's all electrolytes are basically things that are edible and that are good for your body. So like we think that electrolytes is something they formed in the lab, and maybe with Gatorade, who knows? Maybe that's what we are drinking, our electrolytes formed in the lab. But we have so many different things that are just natural, and the same thing goes
Solomon?
with stones and things of that nature.
I saw him going to the kitchen. I did. Absolutely. And crystal water is really a thing. And when you talk about it, making the mystical practical, water with a pinch of salt, and a little sugar. Salt and sugar are both crystals. That's basically what Gatorade is, except for they actually add all these other synthetic items to it. But salt and sugar, lemonade is basically the perfect aligned electrolyte drink. Our grandmothers used to give us lemonade there, before the creation of Gatorade. You run around out in the hot southern sun, you're going to get a glass of lemonade. And then some countries like Vietnam, they have salty lemonade. Why? Because it replenishes those very much needed electrolytes and the salt, which retains the water, and also sodium, which is in NaCl, which is table salt, or sodium, are essential minerals that you have to keep your body in balance.
Right, like all a vitamin is just a vital mineral. We've been taught, get your vitamins. Okay, I need to get this. No, like, do you know what vital minerals are? What vital minerals? Like even the reason why we have the copper cups, right? That we suggested everybody drinks out of in the rising and in the evening, right? The reason why we have the copper cups is because that it has vital minerals. It is a vital mineral. It is a crystal, and then on top of that, like when you drink out of it, it helps to keep magnesium, a vital mineral, so it helps you to digest it and to hold on to it. A lot of people can't even digest food and are dealing with allergies just because they can't digest because you don't have the magnesium that's there. Just like a plant doesn't start losing its chlorophyll. Like people just say, "Oh yeah, the it's fall, the leaves are falling from the tree," simply because they don't have chlorophyll. No, they don't have magnesium. And since they don't have magnesium, they can't keep the chlorophyll. And guess what? If you don't have magnesium, what is your chlorophyll? Your chlorophyll is melanin. So if you don't have magnesium, then how do you keep the melanin? And now you're trying to figure out, man, like some people even say, man, during this season, I actually get lighter or I get this or that. Well, more than likely, you're dealing with a magnesium deficiency. That's a change of the season. And when the seasons change outside, you change. But guess what? The trees do certain things to protect themselves during the seasonal change, right? You should be doing some things to protect yourself during the seasonal change. And we don't even eat for seasons. We don't put on crystals for seasons. We don't eat food for seasons. We just go, oh yeah, well, I just go to the store. I get apples, every week. I get bananas every week. I get this. Well, you know what? If you were living naturally, you would see a change in season, which means you wouldn't eat the same thing all year long. You would actually change the things that you eat because your body is changing, because your environment's changing, because society's changing. Look, you're in a society that's changing. And so as things are changing in society, should you be eating something different to combat what's going on? You're dealing with, people are going, oh, well, this is the issue going on. We're dealing with COVID now. You're dealing with political situations. Your body needs food to deal with the stress. You're dealing with a different type of stress that's manifesting in different diseases, or different diseases are now having their way, because we act like these diseases are new. Don't forget, COVID has been around since at least has been officially around on paper since the 1960s, 1970s. Now all of a sudden people are saying it's going to wipe you off the planet. Well, let's just go with that and say that's true. Well, what are you eating in this season? What are you wearing in the season? What are you believing in the season? What are you speaking in this season? So
Melanin essentially produces itself with a substance such as copper. So, you have to have copper in your blood to have melanin production. And that makes sense because, like you were talking about the plants and the magnesium and how how chlorophyll is, another word for plant melanin, basically. The chlorophyll in plants, as we know, uses sunlight and air and the elements to produce energy and food for the plant. And plants can be self-sustaining with the sunlight and all that, and they pull nutrients from the soil. But we can also produce energy by using the sun, by using our melanin. Melanin is basically synonymous with chlorophyll. So when we start having a decline, like Pastor was talking about, in the winter of our melanin, guess what follows? Blue moods, depression, feeling weird, feeling off. But as soon as we get that sunlight, we get that fresh air, we get the necessary minerals like the copper, which binds to magnesium, which binds to iron, which will, brings oxygen to our cells. Magnesium is needed for over 300 enzymatic processes in our body. So basically, our cells can't function properly. We can't do things like digest or think properly without enough magnesium. And we can't breathe properly without magnesium because it binds to iron. All of these vital minerals work together to create processes within our body. And when one thing is off, when you have a deficiency, like 70 to 80% of our population, 70% of the world has a magnesium deficiency. It's higher in America. It's more like 80% of Americans have a magnesium deficiency. So yes, absolutely. To answer someone's question on here who asked about magnesium, so should we be taking magnesium? Yes, we should be getting magnesium. And the natural, magnesium in its natural forms found in green leafy vegetables. Like the chlorophyll needs magnesium to be produced. So like if you have a plant that's suffering, that's like losing its color, you add a little magnesium, like a little Epsom salt to the soil, and that will bring back the color of the plant because it needed that magnesium.
Which is why you use Epsom salt.
Yeah, why we use Epsom salt, which is why we eat green leafy vegetables, because we need that magnesium. But if we're not getting enough of it in our food, which more than likely we're not, we need to supplement with magnesium. And then there are different types of magnesium, some better than others.
And even think about, I'm sorry, were you finished?
Yeah.
And even think about the fact that like even thinking about the reverse as far as how we're talking. I know we've gotten into eating, so forgive me, but it's important that we kind of make sure we hit this, because think about in nature, right? We try to do what animals that do that hibernate. We try to eat somewhat like animals that hibernate eat, which is dangerous. Animals that hibernate, they get fat for the winter, right? But the reality is that animals really, the animals that are out all year long, and I know we're not animals. However, I'm telling you, animals sometimes have more sense than we do because they live naturally. They live within nature. We don't have to live in nature. And so when the further removed we are from nature, the further we are removed from certain principles. The principles are just origin. So the origin of things, the natural law, the principles that come out of natural law. So when animals are eating, do you think that deer are fat for the winter, or you think they're prepared to lose weight during the winter? They're prepared to lose weight, right? A bear is different. A bear is going to hide away. You're not going to hibernate. You're not going to fast for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, right? And then come out and say you're ready for stuff, right? You're going to be living the whole time. But once again, we have it reversed. What is it that they tell you to do? They tell you, man, it's summer. So during the summer, I'm going to have my beach body and all that stuff. Well, during the summertime is actually, if you're, maybe we shouldn't worry about fluctuating, but I'm saying it's natural actually to fluctuate in weight. I'm sorry to tell people, you don't have to be one weight and never change. And if you change your weight down or up at all, then you're unhealthy. That doesn't make sense. It's healthy for you to have seasons in your life, including with your weight. But if you're dealing with the summertime is when the animals actually are trying to, they have a bounty. There's stuff there to eat. In the springtime, they start looking for stuff, and they're actually putting on weight during the springtime and stuff too. Especially if women, if the females are going to be having children, or not children, but babies, right? If they're going to be having offspring, there we go. So they're going to have an offspring. They put on weight, and it's acceptable. Matter of fact, like, you're looking for them to put on weight during that time. But what do? We are very much so, like, during the summertime, I'm trying to make sure I got the beach body. Everybody look at me and this and that. And I'm going to be, but like, the sun is beaming down, and you, like, there's a lot of energy that's happening. You sweating, you need some energy. You need something to burn. But we're so outside of nature. We don't think about that during the wintertime, though. Like, now, you got all this weight on you. Well, you got on this weight, you can't even move right. Well, some people say, well, we got to wait. Then they start getting to evolutionary stuff. Well, you got to wait because, it's colder and blah, blah. No, like, natural progression, you would eat different things that would cause you to be in different things. It's not going to be as bountiful during the winter. So you start eating certain things that grow in the winter. There's certain plants that grow in the winter, having more of like evergreen stuff. So more of stuff like pine, like pine teas and things like that. That would be more so for the wintertime, because in the wintertime, like, you can have it all year long because it's evergreen, but in the wintertime, what's going to be really strong in the winter? Pine, right? So, like, you probably want to drink a lot of, stuff that's coming from pine, because that's helping, because obviously it's keeping this magnesium. Whatever pine does that's different than other trees, it's going to keep that magnesium flowing. So you need to have something that has magnesium flowing. There's a lot of stuff, there's certain grasses that are going to grow all year long. If you look outside, and by the way, you can make teas out of grass and stuff. It might take some stuff to mix because maybe it's not as tasty, but there's certain stuff that's going to be growing throughout. There's certain vines. The vines will still be there. They might not have the green stuff on them, but you can take the vines. There's certain roots that will still be in the ground that might not have the leaves and everything on the plants, but the roots are there. Why not take some of the roots and be able to do things with those roots? Those are things that we're not thinking about. Potatoes, those are roots, so those are things that people have during the wintertime. Those are things that, like, you can start looking at differently with that. And it's the same thing. So, like, again, this is just showing we're outside of our nature, outside of natural law. We'll eat something that only grows in one place. And by the way, it doesn't even grows in tropical places. So if we're not even in tropical environments trying to eat tropical food, and that's stuff that we would have had more sense in within our culture at one point, to where we would have said, hey, in this, when we're in this place, what actually grows in this place grows in this ground, because we're grounded. We're going to be out here with our shoes off. We're going to be in the sun. We're going to be breathing in, like you're breathing in. Think about it. You're breathing in what you breathe out. So if you live in a place, like, I don't know, if you live in New York, you don't need to be eating Caribbean stuff as much as you need to eat stuff that actually can grow in New York. If it can't grow in New York and you're breathing in New York, your body is you're playing a dangerous game.
Absolutely. And when people talk about eat local, it's not just for the economy. It's also for, what's growing near you is usually what you need. What's growing in your area usually has what you're intaking already. The same air, oxygen, the same water, the same, it's a relationship that's being reciprocated when we eat, like, a lot of things that are grown in foreign countries and climates, and coming from the tropics. When we don't live in the tropics, it more than likely doesn't have the same benefit for us as it would for somebody who's lives in that type of climate, in that type of environment. And we oftentimes have synonymous type foods growing right locally, but it's not easy to market somebody something that grows in their backyard when they can market something that's foreign or exotic and say, oh, pay me 20 times what it's worth, and make it where the people who are from there can't even eat it anymore. Right. Like people in South America, maca and different things like that we're, started this trend and this health craze with, is like their traditional food, but they can't afford it anymore because people in our country and in more quote unquote developed countries are taking it all. Like they're farming and can't eat it themselves because they can't afford it anymore. And we could eat things here like rutabaga and parsnips and turnips and things like that, and get this similar health benefit, and probably better health benefit, because those things grow here.
And even I've lived in, I've been to Hawaii, I've been to Ghana, I've been to I didn't really stay there, but a little bit Solomon Islands, things like that, for like a hot second. Touchdown there, but you go some places, and when you go there, I don't like coconuts. I'll drink. My wife tries to tell me all the time, drink coconut milk because it's good for you and it hydrates. Water. Mm-hmm. Right? And it is, especially in an emergency, like if I'm having an issue or a bad headache or something, I'll have some coconut milk. But I really don't like it. But when I go to Hawaii, or when I go to Ghana, right, or when I go wherever, right, and they have coconuts, I love coconuts. I drink the coconut. But I'm drinking directly out the coconut, and it's in the environment it grows in. And because I'm there, my body reacts different to it, right? Now, somebody would say, well, they could genetically modify the coconut. Maybe they're doing it, maybe they're not. But I'm eating something that my body doesn't need where I am. But let me be somewhere for a few weeks or a couple, in that sense, I think we were there for like a week or so. Maybe no, for a couple of days. I think the first couple of days we actually had coconuts when we went over to Ghana. We were both had to pull over. But as soon as like I eat, as soon as I eat it, it was a different experience both wherever I was. Like I lived in Hawaii, so I got used to you get used to drinking the milk and eating the flesh of the coconut, right? But you give it to me sold here in America, and I'll drink it because it's something that I need medicinally in that point. So for an emergency situation, I'll drink it. But I do not like the taste at all, but it's something that I don't need in the situation I'm in. My body doesn't need it, so my body doesn't react the same way. But give it to me straight from the tree. Somebody cuts it right there with the machete, hands it to me or whatever, and I drink the juice out of it. Then after that, get to eat the flesh out of it. It's a different experience. And I would, if I was somewhere else, I could eat that all day. Matter of fact, eating one fills me up for quite some time. So I can eat one coconut and be done for until if I eat it early enough, I don't need anything else till it's dinner time. If I eat in the middle of the day, I won't eat anything else to the next day. Like it's that feeling. So but you eat it here, or you see watermelon in another place in its natural place, right? Like the rind looks different and everything. Like it feeds you different, but you eat it here, and it's something. It's something different. It's still nice and things like that. So even the type of watermelon or the type of coconut or whatever that you have, the type of orange, the type of banana, and all this stuff.
I'm sorry. Is he supposed to have that spray?
Yeah, I think that's chopped up the wall.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my son apparently drew on the wall, and now I need to clean it off. But yeah, the nutrients and the minerals that are found in the soil, and just all the elements working together, just like crystals. I saw a question here about which crystals correlate with the seasons. Well, the crystals that correlate with where you're from would be the ones that naturally develop there. Um, some places, people who live near lakes, they're going to see a lot of amethyst, a lot of emeralds, a lot of jasper, and that would be something. And then, like when you talk about seasons, normally people change the colors of their clothing with the changing of the season. Oftentimes, burgundy, which kind of like this color, or like a blood type color like jasper would be used in the winter. Deeper, darker colors like the amethyst, or a deep colored jade probably would be used in the winter, depending on where you live. um, Black stones probably would be associated with winter, because usually black people wear more black in the winter, um, because it traps in that heat. So I would say probably, if there was an association or some type of link or relationship between the colors or the use of the crystals based on the seasons, it probably have to do with um, the colors of them
Yeah,
as well.
something normally you won't see, and then I don't have anything else really added to this, but especially because we have our early riser Bible study session tomorrow. However, one thing that you won't see in Africa or a lot of places where there's heat, especially where people of color are, black people are specifically. Well, actually, everybody. Either you'll see people that don't wear pants. And don't mind their legs getting hit by the sun, or if they wear pants, they don't wear black in the summer at all. You won't see that at all, or in any heat. Not just the summer, because they might have heat all year long. So wherever you are, depends on where you are, what you're dealing with as far as weather. But they won't wear black pants. You'll never see that in Africa, because it actually hurts you. It hurts you as far as well, male or female. If you're a female, it's going to help you or hurt you as far as vaginal region and things like that nature. If you're a male, it's going to hurt you, especially as far as even semen production, things like that. So you'll never see that. But it's, once again, it's cultural, and all the stones that we talked about tonight, it's holy. We're just being holistic. It's just a reflection of things that are there, basically.
Yeah. And I'd like to thank Chef K for her announcement about our BloomNFlourish tinctures. She says the tinctures from BloomNFlourish are amazing and they do work. And I really appreciate that endorsement, because I do take a lot of pride. We take a lot of pride in the herbs that we either cultivate, like one of the tinctures I sent you was actually lavender grown in my mother's garden. Um, and also the herbs that we use, and the medicines, the tinctures, and different things that we use. We take a lot of pride and believe that they're sacred and treat them that way. And I really appreciate you saying that you enjoy using the tinctures. So thank you for that.
No, I don't have anything else.
But I don't have anything else either. Let me go through the comments right quick. Joyce Sonny says she just took the passion flower tincture. The passion flower is very calming, and it's also something that restores melanin and restores your sleep patterns and calms your mind. So yeah. New York Queen said, please post classes, dates, times, purchases of your expertise. So the classes are done by a donation basis. Right now, we're into the third or fourth week of the classes. They're 8 weeks long, typically. If you want to join this session, we say, go ahead and join this week, because if you wait a little longer, you may have to wait to the next semester to get the full benefit. All the classes are recorded, so if you did miss something or you want to go back and review something, you can see the recording, you can get the notes, that type of thing. But to get the full benefit of the classes, we say go ahead and join now. And they're a $90 donation. Pastor Kofi teaches Hebrew characters, basic Hebrew language. So he teaches ancient Hebrew on Mondays, which is the Hebrew characters. He teaches basic Hebrew language, which connects you with the language of the Bible. On Wednesdays, he teaches sovereignty, which is freedom from the system, freedom from the corporation, the United States, and how to deal with legal matters. So he teaches sovereignty 1 and 2 on Wednesday. The classes are typically at 9 p.m., but sovereignty 1 is at 8 p.m. Sovereignty 2 is at 9 p.m. on Wednesday. On Thursday, I teach natural medicine 2, which is a continuation of natural medicine 1, which is taught by Pastor Kofi. On Friday, I teach basic French, which is a spoken French class where we're practicing speaking, practicing getting into the culture and into getting familiar with the language, and just free speech throughout the course. A lot of laughter more so than I expected. And on Saturdays, Pastor Kofi teaches about financial matters, not as a financial advisor, but just informing people on what cryptocurrency is and how to use it, and how to get in on this not so new trend of money, and understanding financial systems so that you can understand how wealth works. And so, yeah, we have those classes going now, and we will have an upcoming semester. But if you want to get in on the classes for this semester, go ahead and contact Pastor Kofi at, you can text him at 202-599-7312. And he's about to put up his contact information so that you can get in touch with him. Also, the links in his bio on TikTok, and his website is kofi-ofori.com, and you can get information there as well. So he's pulling up the information now. So he has a 401 number. So if for people on the podcast and on YouTube, Pastor Kofi's number to text is the 410-714-50.
If you're on YouTube, you can just look in the description boxes there. If you're on the podcast, as soon as we finish with this and it's uploaded, or if you just want to simply look at any other podcast that's recorded, just look in the description box. All the information to get in contact with us or other things that you might want to do is there. If you're on TikTok, you have some of the information on here, or you can just look at the actual page when we finish, look at where it says bio and look at a couple things that are there. But then you can also look at where it says website, and then the website, my wife has a link tree that she put together for you all that you can just go click there and be able to find out what's going on, and different ways that you can, different places you can look at, different places you can be part of the community, and different ways if you'd like to give time, talent, effort, energy, prayer, or even some kind of resource towards what we're doing, including even getting land down the road or things of that nature. We have all that stuff available for you.
Yeah, donations are definitely welcome. Pastor Kofi's Cash App is $FindKofi1. He also has a Zelle and PayPal and Venmo, any type of way that you'd like to help contribute. He also has a Patreon page, which has exclusive content that you won't find anywhere else, and that's $5 a month. So any little bit counts in terms of helping with the vision, purpose, value of SOC, and helping the community, helping us, personally, and helping the community as well, and helping us grow and get the message out to more people.
Yep.
Anyhow, thank you all for being on tonight. And is it still Shabbat? No, after 6 p.m. it's finished, right?
It's Sunday.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, when did it start? When did it end?
6:00 p.m. yesterday.
Oh, wow. Oh, that was fast. Okay. Anyhow, well, shalom, everyone, and thank you so much for being on. So I guess to see you early in the morning for the early rise of Bible study. For those who have the link or who need the link, you can use the information within his bio in the links, or text 410-714-5078. Again, that number is 410-714-5078 to request the link, the Zoom link for the early riser Bible study tomorrow morning. That's all I have.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on again. We appreciate you all. Sorry, I just realized that the curtain for some reason is showing through in the background. So, but thank you guys for being on, and we appreciate you. And as always, well, don't just be a hearer of this word, be a doer as well. Check out wife once again, the Honorable Maya, BloomNFlourish, not A-N-D, but the letter N, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest. And as always, this has been myself and Maya. We're over servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until we have the next privilege, opportunity, responsibility of being in front of you again, please remember, as always, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Last thing, just in case it's your first time with us, we're on every rising at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. Mondays we're on we're on early at 6:45 a.m. Eastern New York time, even though I'll be on a Zoom call there at 6:30 a.m. Eastern New York time. Once again, if you don't have the link that's been emailed out or whatever, feel free to just let us know. If we don't have your contact info for some reason you didn't get it yet, and or bare minimum, hopefully you let us know before 6:30, because once 6:30 starts, it's kind of hard to make sure that we're sending the stuff out to everybody. And then, of course, we'll be right back into our live tomorrow. Patreon members, don't forget, we now have our stuff where we can go live. So we'll have a live unlisted link for you guys only to be able to be used. Look for that on Patreon on Tuesday. And we look forward to continuing to move forward together. Thank you so much. Have a great night wherever you are in the world listening. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Shalom. Thanks again, babe.
Shalom.
Appreciate you.
My pleasure.
I was hoping you would say that the
Can you wait till we